3 of the fantasy football season. And here's a few tight ends I have as sleepers this week. The first guy's Max Williams of the Arizona Cardinals. So Williams, I had a recommended ad this week on the waiver wire at the tight end position after coming off a big ball game with 7 catches, 94 yards on 7 targets in week 2 versus Minnesota. In week 1, he had the goose egg at Tennessee, but right here, he's got a slam dunk matchup week 3 at the Jacksonville Jaguars, who give up the 9th most fantasy points to tight end. So Max Williams, he's out there in 98% of fantasy leagues. And if you need a tight end, I think he's a sneaky play this week. He's in a great offense. Defenses, they're not going to pay attention to him with all the weapons over there in Arizona with DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Ronaldo Moore, AJ Green, Chase Edmonds receiving out of the backfield. So right here, wouldn't surprise me to see Max Williams get 40 yards and a touchdown versus this weak Jacksonville defense. And he's definitely a tight end sleeper this week. The next tight end is Jack Doyle of the Indianapolis Colts. So Jack Doyle, just when you think he's not going to be a fantasy option for fantasy owners, this guy appears each and every season with some pop-up and pretty decent games. Week 1 versus Seattle, he only had 3 catches for 21 yards. But week 2 versus the Rams, he was way more involved. 8 targets, 5 of them he caught, 64 yards and 2-point conversion. So right here, week 3 at Tennessee, this is going to be another ball game where the Colts are going to have to throw the ball a lot. I know Carson Wentz, he might not play in this ball game. He's a questionable tag as of now with both sprained ankles, and reports are coming out there preparing to go on without him in this ball game. Here is the Indianapolis Colts. So this could be a long ball game for the Colts, no doubt about it, where they're going to have to throw the football 40 or 50 times behind Jacob Eason, who obviously is a guy that's not going to do much in my opinion here. But right here, Jack Doyle is going to be a security blanket. And right here, the only way they're going to compete here is hitting Pascal or Doyle, in my opinion, because the rest of their wide receivers pretty much haven't shown up besides Michael Pittman. And Jack Doyle is the third option in this offense. So right here, I think Doyle's a sneaky play this week, and he's available as well, Doyle, in still a whopping 97% of fantasy leagues, and he's a tight end sleeper. And the third and final tight end sleeper is Evan Engram of the New York Giants. So Engram, I was down on drafting him this season coming into the year, and so far he hasn't played the first 2 games of the season with his injury problems in the calf, but he got limited practice in, and I think the Giants sat him out in week 2 versus Washington to have like that extra bye week where he got the 10 days off here as Engram. So Engram, he's available in 44% of fantasy leagues here is Evan Engram. But right now, he's got a good matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons, who've been torched so far in the first 2 weeks of the season by tight ends, giving up the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends. Week 1, we saw Dallas Goedert find the end zone versus them. And in week 2, we saw Rob Gronkowski have 2 touchdowns versus Atlanta. So Atlanta can't stop anyone. And I like a lot of Giants this week as plays. And Evan Engram is a sleeper tight end. So that's a few tight ends I have as sleepers here for week 3 of the fantasy football season.